The second question in your America Sources paper will ask you to cross-reference sources. Cross-referencing means to compare the message of sources and find ways in which they give a similar message, but also may differ. You will be asked to give an overall conclusion as to how much they support each other. This question in the exam is worth 7 marks, and you will have around 10 minutes to answer this question. So let's look at the level criteria. As you can see, to get a B or above, you need to be looking at a level 3. Now, a level 3 means that you develop your statements and you find ways in which the sources support each other, but also how they challenge each other. If you would like to get full marks, so if you are aiming for an A star, then you also need to be saying a conclusion. So how much do they support or do they go against each other? So this is what a cross-reference question will look like. As you can see, you'll be given 2 sources that you have to compare, and you'll also be given the question. Now here it is asking how far does source B support the evidence in source A about the popular feeling about prohibition in the 1920s. So firstly, it is asking you to make a judgment about to what extent do they support each other. The focus of your question is the popular feeling about prohibition in the 1920s. So you are looking for clues about how people feel about prohibition. Firstly, read through the sources carefully. What I would like you to think about is what is the overall message for each source. Do they support prohibition, or do people in the sources dislike prohibition? Once you have read through the sources, the second task that you need to do is find ways in which the sources support each other. So you're looking for similar ideas about prohibition, and I would like you to underline those in one colour. Now, one example of this is as follows. Let's look at source A together, and you will see it says, in most cities, it only took 30 minutes to find alcohol. Now have a look at source B and see if you can find any information that you think matches or supports this quote. Once you have done that, turn to the next slide and I will show you the source that I found. Now the quote that I have selected to support the other quote about it only took 30 minutes to find alcohol is this one. In source B, you can see that prohibition created a well-loved and very profitable occupation, that of the bootlegger. Now the reason why I have chosen these two to match each other as they support each other because they are both showing there is a demand for alcohol. Therefore, they are both showing that prohibition was not popular and people chose to ignore the laws. Now what I would like you to do is see if you can find any other quotes from source A that are supported in source B. Now you need to find ways in which the sources challenge each other. So if you can, take another colour, read through the sources. I'm going to start by looking at source B, where I'm going to find that teddy bears that were suddenly popular with ladies very often have hollow metal stomachs. Now we can infer this is because they are hiding alcohol in there. They are trying to conceal their alcohol. Now looking at source A to find where it may challenge the point that teddy bears that were suddenly popular with ladies very often have hollow metal stomachs, in source A is here. Izzy asked the taxi driver where he could get a drink. Right here, said the driver, producing a bottle. As you can see in source B, people are going at great lengths to try and conceal their alcohol. Whereas in source A, the taxi driver is not trying to conceal and is openly drinking alcohol. Therefore, although both these sources are showing that people are still drinking despite prohibition, in source B, people are trying to hide their drinking, whereas in source A, people are being very obvious about it. Again, read through the sources. Can you find any other points in them where the sources now challenge each other? Now looking at the mark scheme, again, you can see that in your level 3 you need to have developed statements. So in a second I'm going to show you what that means. We also need to have a conclusion in order to reach full marks. So I'm going to talk you through what the examiner is expecting to see in your conclusion. Now, a developed answer means explaining why the sources support each other or why the sources challenge each other. Now, this would be an example of a level 1. The student has cross-referenced because they can say how source A supports source B, and they add quotes to back up what they are saying, but they do not develop the statement. They do not explain why they support each other. So this answer would be a level 1. Read through it. What I'd like you to think about is how would you extend this? How would you turn this level 1 answer into a level 3 answer? Hopefully, reading through this sample model answer, you will have got the same ideas about how to extend your answer as this student did. So you can see, this is where the student starts to pick up the level 3, because they start to expand their answer. Now they state source A supports source B in explaining how popular prohibition was, as source A states that in most cities you could find alcohol, and in source B it states that prohibition created a well-loved and very profitable occupation, that of the bootlegger. Here, the student has cross-referenced their answer, but they haven't started to develop it until they get to here. The reason why it's developed is because they explain why the sources support each other. They also link their idea back to the focus of the question. They explain whether people support or go against prohibition. When it comes to writing your conclusion, the examiner is not looking for an extended piece of writing. What they are looking for is really a comment on how far or to what extent the sources support or challenge each other. Now, if the sources very strongly support each other, you should use this statement here. You would also need to say why they strongly support each other. If you think that they do not support each other at all, you should use no support. As long as you have made a comment onto the extent of support, which are these comments here, and why you think that, then that is fine for a conclusion. Now, read through the following 2 student answers. For next lesson, please can you work out what you would level them as and why you would level them. We will be going through this next lesson and you will be sitting a cross-reference question, so please make sure you've had a look at the video and that you understand the technique of how to go about it. If you have any questions, please come and find either myself or Miss Sadler, and we'll be more than happy to go through this with you.